Hi again, it's John Dirgo Deweese, and I'm here on another one of the continuing series of things that sellers need to look out for. And I want to talk to you about what I call the curse of back on market. When working with a seller, I'm really careful to discuss the pros and cons of each offer with them. You know, has the buyer motivated? Do they know the area? Do they know the neighborhood? Have they been to the house? Some of those basic things. That may not seem terribly important, but actually play a lot into whether or not, once you get the offer accepted and the house into escrow, whether or not it actually stays there. Even in the best of situations, probably 10 or 20% of offers will fail during the escrow process. It can be for any number of reasons, um, but it's always going to happen. But if offers and buyers aren't screened, it can be a lot higher, like 50% or more. If you're just taking an offer from someone who's never even seen the house or things like that, the odds of it falling out of escrow are far higher. And if your listing broker is not discussing those kinds of things with you, you need to reconsider that relationship. You're better off delaying accepting an offer until all of the decision makers have seen the property in person. They have visited the area, they've driven the neighborhood, they've gone by at night even to make sure it's a quiet neighborhood. All of those things. If they won't do that and they want you to rush and accept their offer in the next 2 days, it's a huge red flag. They're obviously not terribly serious, which means your odds of it going into escrow and then falling out have gone way up. And why is falling out of escrow so horrible? It's the curse of back on market. Buyers, especially ones looking online, remember properties. They look at the same ones, they see them all the time, and they will notice if something disappears for a little while and then comes back. And the first thought that they have, especially if they were somewhat interested in it, is not, oh, lucky me, it's back on the market, I get a second chance at this. It's, oh my God, it failed inspection, what's wrong with it? Now, a lot of the times, these reasons for falling out have nothing to do with the house. That concern is completely unwarranted. But if the potential buyer has no new information to let them know that, and all they see is the same picture that they saw before, popping back on the market, that's their immediate thought and that's their immediate response, and they're just going to keep on scrolling down. At a bare minimum, if your property does go in escrow and fall out, you need to change up the pictures so that first one online is something different. Maybe it'll get them to stop and look a second time. If the property did not fall out of escrow because of the inspection, if it was something completely unrelated to the inspection, it turns out they couldn't get the loan they thought they could get, that they just genuinely didn't like the neighborhood. One of the people wasn't there and they just didn't like it when they did take a look at it. That needs to be made abundantly clear. That needs to be clearly expressed in the listing. That needs to be shouted from the rooftops, hey, the house didn't fall out of escrow because of anything to do with the house. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, if it did fall out of escrow because the inspection did turn up something that scared the potential buyer away, there's really only two things you can do. One is address the problem, document that you fixed it, and be prepared to show the evidence of that. If for some reason it is something you cannot fix due to expense or something like that, you need to be upfront, be honest about that, and seriously consider adjusting your price to compensate. Nobody needs the bad karma of knowingly selling somebody a house with defects. It's one of those things. I've been in situations where I've had sellers want me to not disclose something that was found during inspection, and I've ended up having to walk away from the listing because I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't be that person who is that slimy. But going into escrow and then falling out again is one of the worst things that can possibly happen. It's almost always the beginning of a slide toward repeated price reductions and lower offers, unless it is addressed proactively with extensive advertising, description, marketing, clarification, everything. If it is not addressed and someone just tries to pretend, oh, that didn't happen, it won't work. Your house is going to sell for less and it's going to be a nightmare for everybody. So don't do it. Screen your buyers in advance. Make sure they know they want the place. Even if you have to tell them that, hey, I won't accept your offer right now, but once you've come, let's talk about it again. You're better off in the long run, because it's better to not have an offer than to have an offer, go into escrow, and fall out a few days later. The house will never overcome the curse of back on market if you do. Thanks a lot. Until next time.